How powerful are the Mexican cartels, and how much influence do they actually have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So they're extremely powerful, but you need to describe what that power is. And it varies in different parts of Mexico. So they have different levels of control in different states. Mexico is a big country. Mexico is 2 million square kilometers, 32 states. So let's say there's a third of the states in Mexico which don't really have that much cartel activity. They're pretty normal, not really that violent. They're pretty okay. So you could be pretty surprised going somewhere, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
About a third which have a medium level of cartel activity, where there's cartels are present, but they're not totally dominating the place. And about a third extremely dominated by cartels. Now, what does that look like? So it's different than if, say, when the Islamic State controlled territory in Syria. When they have control of these places, there's certain things they'll control. So they'll control towns, they'll control the mayor of a town. Meaning, I mean, a lot of mayors they've murdered because they haven't taken the money, or they have taken the money and they haven't delivered or whatever. But sometimes, they're going to have them, often they'll have the mayor on their payroll, or they'll even be shaking down the city government, like saying to the mayor, 10% of that budget goes to us. So that's a pretty powerful thing to be able to do that. They'll control and want to put in at both that municipal level and the state level and higher, but particularly that level, police. So like say, we want this guy as the police, this guy as the police, leading police. So there are guys. Now, you have police who are literally full-on cartel members. I mean, carrying out, who might become cartel members first and then be put by the cartel into the police. Often in these towns, cartel really is above, particularly the local city police. And I can tell some crazy stories when I've had to deal with cartels in these towns. When the guy said to me, we've had problems and they've, saying you have to leave. And we've said, talk to some of these guys who we just want to be here. We're not going to. And they say, okay, if you have any problems with the police, you call me. Like they're above the police in these places. Now, they're going to control in these areas all of the illegal activities, and not just drugs, but they're going to, drugs, obviously, the big earner, huge earner still. Drugs going to the United States, fentanyl going to the United States, crystal meth, cocaine, heroin, also what's sold locally in Mexico. But also they've got a bunch of other businesses which they want to take some money off. So there might be theft of oil in that area. If there's oil pipelines going through there, there'll be people plugging in a pipeline to the oil and taking the oil out. They actually plug in two, one to keep the pressure going and one to take the oil out. They'll do that. It's crazy amount of money. It's like $1 billion a year. They want a piece of that. Human smuggling. So meaning like all of the people going without papers to the United States, there'll be the coyotes, the polleros, the people running that, but they'll be controlling them as well, taking some of that money. A lot of people that go to in a large amount of the US border and a lot of element of there. Now, wildcat mining, prostitution, sex trafficking, product piracy, and then sometimes regular legal businesses also make them pay as well. So basically acting like almost like a shadow government there. Now, at the same time, they can be there. They can, you can be in these places and see them quite openly walking around in camo gear with AK-47s and grenade launchers, that kind of thing. Then the military can go in there, and these guys can disappear. So they're not controlling a territory to the point they're, sometimes stopping the military going. The military can go in there, then the guys can just disappear into the hills, disappear into houses. Then the military goes away, and they come back out again. Now, as you know, they say about when you talk about, counterinsurgency, techniques, you have to control every square meter of ground because these guys can just disappear. They can come back and have this constant conflict. They don't care, like, say, the Islamic State or the Shining Path, which is a communist group from Peru in the 1980s, 1990s. They don't care about what people are being taught at schools. The Islamic State are like, they take a territory. The school teachers have got to teach Islamic education. The Shining Path, they've got to teach communist education. These cartels don't care. Teacher, go to school, teach the kids. Yeah, we don't care. They want the government to collect the garbage. They want the government to keep the lights on. But they want to be able to control certain things. So that's what I mean when you understand what cartel or paramilitary organized crime looks like on the ground in these places.
I mean, it seems like a spider, but instead of having 8 legs, I mean, from what you described, is 20 legs or 30 legs or a tick, I guess would be a better analogy, where they're multi-headed tick, where they're biting into the oil and biting into all the things that are making money. I mean, it's what you're describing is a pretty robust infrastructure for sure.
Absolutely. A tick. That's quite a good metaphor, something there. I kind of think of it sometimes as being like, say you have a forest, and this is like this kind of noxious weed which is wrapped around certain trees.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sucking from those trees, but also then it gets to a point where, because the police are under control of the cartel, then you can't kind of tell between the regular police and the cartel. You can't tell between certain trees and this noxious weed. They become like this plant. You can't divide which one is which. But at the same time, we don't want to burn down the whole forest, meaning that Mexico still got loads of good things as well. And even the Mexican government has good sides as well. Like the Mexican government has, school teachers and doctors and all these people trying to do good work for their communities, but also, this kind of real noxious cartel there as well. So how do you manage to change that? And that's a very, very tough task.
When you were talking about the individuals in camouflage with AKs and grenade launchers, where are they getting this type of weaponry?
Yeah, so first of all, okay, we can divide it between AK-47s, AR-15s, and then heavier weapons. So the AK-47s, the AR-15s are coming, the majority come from the United States. And there are some other sources, but it's, I've looked at this very, very heavily. You see how people are buying these guns in the US. Now, they're buying them through straw buyers, which paying people with clean records to go and buy guns. And, the cases are there. I mean, you've got the guns, in, tens and tens of thousands of guns traced directly to stores, to factories and so forth. Now, they'll go in there and they'll buy multiple, there's been cases of multiple sales where they'll walk into a store and say, give me 10, Waza 10 AK-47s. Boom, buy them. Now, they'll do that.